Restart India presents Let's Talk Business, a talk show curated and presented by Restart India, an initiative started by Muthoot Fincorp Limited in partnership with Inc. Restart India came into being during the initial days of the lockdown with an aim to address the concerns of small businesses. One of the ways we connect with our community of small businesses is through our live events. At Restart India, while we are running on-ground campaigns to support and restart micro and nano businesses, the talk shows and live events are aimed to create a community wherein the advice from one entrepreneur or mentor can help other startups learn, share views, and grow. Our live events also create awareness to enable the community to come together and support small and local businesses. In this new edition of live events, we call Let's Talk Business. It is a conversation between entrepreneurs who run small businesses. We want to hear from them on how they ideated, set up their business, the challenges they faced, and how they have come to be where they are now. Restart India. Hi, good evening. I'm Tina Muthoot and welcome to Let's Talk Business by Restart India. So we've finally reached 2021 and 2020 seemed way longer than it actually was, didn't it? The year 2020 taught us so many lessons, and one important chapter was that it taught us what change meant. Everything has a new definition now, whether it be in lifestyle, work, culture, business, the list just goes on. So some time ago, things which seemed impossible have become the new normal for many. They've adjusted to that situation. And for other people, they're still getting used to it. But what we're doing here at Restart India is that we're trying to engage in these challenging conversations and trying to bring viewpoints from so many entrepreneurs who've gone through so many changes and traveled these paths so that they can share their views, their insights with our viewers. And one topic that we've picked right now for today is to start smart with online customer experience. We have with us two wonderful guests who've been in the virtual space since the beginning of their entrepreneurial journey. Let me quickly introduce our first panelist, Chartered Accountant Divya Abhishek. She's the director at Twice Treasured, which is a platform for sustainable usage of children's products. Twice Treasured was launched with the objective to encourage sustainability by getting parents to consider purchasing pre-loved products, toys and things that babies and kids outgrow, that your home outgrows, and to find other homes where they will be treasured again. A little bit more about Divya. She's a practicing chartered accountant at Chennai who is currently the partner of Messrs. DSNR and Co. Chartered Accountants. And she's an all India rank holder in both the CA final exams, the CS exams. She also has international tax examination qualifications. To talk about Divya's leadership qualities, she's the youngest ever president of the Inner Wheel Club of the Madras Next Gen. She's the secretary of the Women Professional Empowerment Forum and a speaker herself. She has addressed over 100 conferences, seminars, workshops organized by corporate forums, professional bodies, and she's an advisor to many universities. She's also set up organizations for empowering women entrepreneurs, and she mentors them herself. Welcome, Divya. We at Restart India are really delighted to have you on board.
Thank you.
Our next panelist for tonight is Srinath Shankar Narayanan. He's a co-founder and traveler at Pick Your Trail. Pick Your Trail is one of India's highest rated travel planners. It helps people plan, customize, and book their holidays online with all their favorite activities that they want to do on a holiday, with complete control over their budget and itinerary. An adventurous traveler himself, Srinath loves biking, traveling, and data crunching. He's an All India True Wanderer 2.0 competition runner-up and Flickr Motography finalist. And he takes pride in having biked for 18,000 kilometers along the length and breadth of India. And before starting Pick Your Trail, Srinath was a business analyst, change agent, and revenue generator with a solid record of multi-project management across various geographies. And not to mention, Srinath has been a supporter of Restart India since our launch days last year. Welcome, Srinath. So glad that you've been part of our Restart India initiative.
Thank you for hosting me. It's my pleasure.
How are you both doing today?
Good. It's a good start to the year, so we're feeling positive. 2020 is behind us.
Yeah, everyone's looking forward to a really good 2021. So, a lot of learnings that 2020 gave. Anyway, so our show is divided into 5 segments. We'll get started with our first segment. And we're going to discuss about topics that are relevant to running a business. And people want to hear your stories. I mean, these are going to be like real conversations, like raw conversations from 2 entrepreneurs. So let's start with the first segment. It's called the what, when, why factor, the rationale behind everything a business does. So these factors are the foundation and the building blocks that decide the success of any enterprise, from the smallest scale to the largest one. Now, our idea, like I said, is to inspire like-minded business owners and to be entrepreneurs through these conversations. Let me start with you, Srinath. So during this testing time, when travel agencies, planners, they were struggling to keep themselves afloat, what is it that Pick Your Trail was trying to change and redefine in the way it functions?
So 2020, in some sense, for travel as an industry, the trajectory was from 100 to 0. So, and that was for a very prolonged period, for at least about 6 months. Unlike any other businesses, travel was forced to shut down for about 6 months. And this 6 months actually gave us a good time period to go and actually reflect. Okay, hey, we have had a 6-year journey. We've been growing well, and we've seen fast-paced growth. If we had to reflect and see what are the things that we could have done differently. So the 6 months was a reflection for us, to be very honest, along with the fact that obviously we had to process a lot of refunds for customers because a lot of their holidays were cancelled. And it also helped us increase, saying that, hey, if we have to get back and restart, and if we have to do it in a bigger scale, what are the things that we could do? Because right now we didn't have the pressure of execution because there's no travel that is happening. So a lot of ideation, we use this time for a lot of ideation and increasing our TAM, target addressable market. So total addressable market. So that was our biggest focus for at least 6 months in 2020, March to at least about August. And some of those things we launched in terms of different products. We increased. Earlier, we used to do only international vacations from India as a product. But we then introduced luxury staycations within India as a product on our platform. And we increased our partnerships with affiliates so that we can power more and more brands for their travel requirements. And we also started our global operations, which is India is under lockdown, but some other countries are open for travel. How can Pick Your Trail become relevant in these places? So these were some of the opportunities we saw, because tough times means that you have to just get creative. You have to just figure out where revenue actually comes from. We were very clear that we want to be in the travel space because that's what we've been doing for the last 6 years, and that's what we know how to do well. And we knew that we understand tech. So we had to figure out where most likely revenue opportunities will bounce back the fastest, and we use that time to build those products so that once the market opens up, we are able to capture that market share. And thankfully, the time that we spent, we are starting to see good results of that also, wherein our bounce back has been better than expected, and we are thankful for that overall.
Yeah, I think like anything related to hospitality travel, like people have been so curious as to what's happened to the industry. So, and you made a good point, like your strength is in travel and tech. So this gave you that time to like explore new markets. So yeah, that's good. Divya, to you. So Twice Treasure is an incredibly innovative concept. How did you start conceptualizing it?
So I think sustainability was very close to my heart, and I was subconsciously practicing it for many years. But it was not until when I had a baby I realized how important it was. In fact, after a few months of the birth of my child, we started getting into the coronavirus era. There were lockdowns, and what we came to notice was kids outgrow products very, very soon. There were so many toys, clothes. Within weeks, they outgrow products. And I was trying very hard to find a safe space to sell this if there's any formal market where we could do that. And I came to notice that so far it was only very informally done through WhatsApp, where mothers were suspecting others, if it was a valid request. There were so many things that had to be fixed. So my co-founder and I thought, why not we bring out this solution, and we started this out of the lockdown. In fact, we had this idea and we got our startup up and running within a week's time. So that's how we progressed, and that's how Shop Twice Shirt started as well.
Yeah, within a week. That's impressive. But you said you started during the lockdown and, pre-loved products. How do you, what steps do you take to maintain that hygiene factor?
So, health and hygiene is in the forefront for any business right now. And the fact that we started during the COVID period also helped us prepare for it ahead of time. We ensured that every product of ours follows the highest standard of hygiene, from putting it together to packing the product to the kind of gloves that is being used. We also are very transparent to buyers as well as sellers as to how we follow this process, and we take enough pictures as proof and evidence. Since it's baby products, people are very sensitive, especially during the time of coronavirus. So we've been mindful of that. We have created standard operating procedures for the team to follow. And by team, when I say startup, I mean it's us and our family members. That's literally how we got this off the ground. So we ensure we strictly follow it in all locations before it is delivered to the buyer. And we have this ideal where my co-founders and I believe that if we can use a product for our child, the same quality and same standards has to be upheld for every product that is sold through our platform. Being mothers ourselves, we're able to resonate with this thought, and we ensure we keep up with it no matter the time or cost involved in it. And the other aspect is parents themselves are sellers in our platform. So we notice that they're very considerate and mindful when they keep a product ready for delivery to another parent for another baby. So yes.
Yeah, that emotional factor, I'm sure, like plays an important role. Coming back to you, Srinath. So now that everything is virtual, like how do you ensure that the needs and expectations of your customers are met? Like how does your customer support specifically focus on creating those let's say beyond satisfactory customer experiences?
One of the things is that we've not had a retail presence whatsoever. So all our product selling or our revenue selling has been online. So that means that my minimum expectation in terms of customer satisfaction and customer handling has to be designed into the DNA of the business itself, because otherwise it's going to be very difficult. I do not have a face-to-face time with them in terms of building trust or building that sense of belongingness to the brand. So in the DNA itself, from the beginning, we had only one thing that we continue to tell. In fact, all our team members, a person is probably taking one vacation a year, and we don't have any rights to screw that up. And if we start with that as a basic requirement, I think the subsequent attention to detail items, if that is the true essence that we operate with, the other aspects we built as SLAs and SOPs and all of that. And that's how this entire DNA was built into the function. And one of the other things that we also call, we in fact have a team called as CHN Ops, which is Customer Happiness and Operations. And we call them the true North Star of the organization. If they are able to keep our customers happy, that means that eventually my customer acquisition cost is going to go down, because they're going to repeat purchase with us, number one. And number two, they're also going to refer to more and more people. So it is in our own interest that we take good care of our customers, because that's going to pay it forward in multiple levels. So I think it's a no-brainer that it should be part of the DNA for any organization. It's not very transactional in nature. Okay, I've got the money from this customer. After this, I don't care. Because if you stop with that, I think you are cutting a golden goose or a golden you're cutting down on revenue that is potentially going to come to you in the future. So if you approach it saying that this is part of your revenue, it's going to give you revenue, I think the perspective changes entirely, and you will operate with whatever is needed to get to that highest standard. So we always have operated saying that this is our North Star metric, and it is also going to be aiding our revenue or reducing our cost. If you operate from that perspective, I think this will come naturally to any business, and they will be curious enough to solve for it.
Yeah, that point that customer happiness is aiding your revenue, I think that's something that should be driven like everywhere. Yeah. So Divya, again, another customer feedback question. So customer feedback, like that is essential in order to like refine your business strategy. What is it that Twice Treasure does to obtain customer feedback?
So we operate out of Instagram where feedback is everything and it's also immediate.
Yeah.
We ensure that after sale, especially the first few months, we reach out to every single customer to find out their experience. And we also built up a database from their feedback. And in that process, our model also became very dynamic, where we were constantly adapting and changing how we operated based on the feedback that we were getting once we analyzed it. Especially sustainability is relatively new in the baby field in India. So it takes two parties to truly believe in it. It is not just enough if we sell it, but the customer should equally repose that trust and faith in us to do that. And I'm happy to say, largely we've had very positive reviews. But in the event where we had a dissatisfied customer or if they had a point to improve, we immediately acted on it and we completely changed how we operated as well. The one thing my co-founder was very particular was she wanted to have a voice to the brand, and it was not just closing out one sale or having a happy customer through that. So we consciously tried to attend to every query ourselves and bring a voice to our brand, and I think that really helped us go a long way. There were two examples that struck me when you were asking about how customer feedback changed our business. One was, since we started during lockdown, we had a common response where customers said when they make an order, they expect to get it in 3 days or 4 days. And that was becoming difficult with our whole verification process, sanitization process. So we quickly adapted where we would do a direct delivery between the seller and buyer. And we incorporated many checks and balances in that process between us and the seller to enable this. And also another feedback that we did get was in terms of immediate delivery, because we have Amazon, Flipkart, which does next day delivery. And for a startup, that's relatively new. And when we got that, we started asking our customers if it was a product that needed immediate delivery, and we would ensure that we operate and inform our delivery partner about the criticality of it. So it really helped us go a long way in terms of getting this feedback and changing how we operated itself.
Yeah, even that one point, putting that into your process about asking a customer, like, is this something that you need immediate? So you know where to pay attention to. So, Srinath, back to that happy customer phrase. Okay, so we've heard that like happy employees make for happy customers. What are the things that Pick Your Trail does to keep its employees motivated or happy to serve better?
You see, one part of this was one of the biggest challenges for us during the COVID times, because the people may be losing interest in the industry itself, and it's rightly so as well, because they are going to be fearful of their own career, saying, "Hey, what is going to happen if I invest my time in an industry which I don't have a visibility in?" So one large part of our philosophy has been to keep communication transparent as much as possible. So one of the things we continue to do, so we do reflections with the entire organizations every quarter, where we talk about how was the last quarter's performance, where we think we stand and against the plan, and what we expect next quarter to be, what are our plans. We talk about that a lot more openly, and we try and keep transparency as one of the cultures. So one of the other aspects in our office is that we don't have any closed cabins as such. So the entire office is a very transparent office, so open office layout, and anybody can reach out to anybody at any point of time and have access to them. So that's one of the other things that we do. And we also have small things in place like instant gratification. We have in our internal communication something called as channels, something called as small win bet. where anybody can put in something that they've done for the day and they can post that, and we have a culture of appreciating that and recognizing whatever they've done. And it's not like somebody putting their own small win bell, somebody else can appreciate and put that instantly. These are small instant gratification items that continues to motivate an employee. And at a larger level, we also try and keep them as stakeholders within the organization, so through various programs like ESOPs and all of that, so that they have a sense of purpose, of belongingness to the organization. And obviously these are all good to have things. The must have is we have to give them great career growth. We have to communicate what is it that next 12 months holds in future for you, and what are the things you can do to get there. And if you're able to demonstrate that the tangible results as and when they start happening, they'll also have the sense of belongingness and the happiness, saying that yes, I want to be part of an organization. But having said all of this, handling people, it is not a black and white. It comes with its own emotions, and you need to read and understand people much better, and admit mistakes if you have done something wrong. If you admit mistakes and say, I will try and correct that, I think building that trust becomes a lot more easier. So these are some of the things that we do. I don't think, or I would not say that we have perfected that art, but the intent is definitely to, be employee friendly as well.
Yeah, and I think for industry like travel with COVID, I'm sure that the time was a huge learning for you in, giving that comfort to your people that the things are going to get better. That you're giving that support also to them, as um, the promoters, founders. I think that I'm sure that that period would have been difficult as well as like a moment of reckoning.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It was difficult, and I do not shy away from thanking our set of folks who is stuck through this difficult phase. We continue to appreciate them, and wherever what a forum it is, I continue to say that we were actually lucky to have the team that we have right now, who said that okay, we will ride through this together. So a lot of that credit goes to the team. To be very honest, we are just the face of the company, and we're just the placeholders, but a large part of that execution happens because of them.
Yeah, I'm sure. Divya, so you mentioned that you commenced your operations during the lockdown. Can you just elaborate on what challenges you faced during the initial days when you were going online?
Definitely. So, being a baby product delivery platform, I think delivery was everything. It's very critical. And having a total lockdown definitely threw spanner in the works for us. But we were quick to act on it. We did three things that really enabled us to, continue and do better. The first thing we did was we zeroed in on a delivery partner that is also recognized by the government, and we wouldn't have unnecessary hassles or stoppage and all that. The second was, and I think this is what really helped us, was we as co-founders, we turned into delivery agents ourselves. Where there were restrictions or sudden lockdowns, we would pick up the product and go deliver it to the customer. In retrospect, I think this challenge was a huge opportunity for us to meet the customers and also give a personal touch to our brand. And the last thing that we did do was we found out in each state what the essential commodity list the government always issued it in advance, and we'd ensure during those ensuing weeks of total lockdown what we would list on our portal would be covered under that essential commodity list. So that way we are not making false promises, and we're also delivering on time and keeping the customers happy. So it really went a long way today to go through that phase of total lockdown, the uncertainties. I think it helped us prepare as a business today. So that's what we did to overcome those challenges.
Okay, that's great. Great learning about both your businesses. So we've come to the end of segment one. We're just going to move on to the next segment. That's snippets. Entrepreneurship is a journey, and the entrepreneur has so many different aspects to focus on. And the entrepreneur is also exposed to different challenges every day, which, when overcome, can be a lesson learned. And some lessons are tough, others bring a smile to your face. So I'm just going to ask you both to share such moments with us, to give our viewers a glimpse into the day in the respective businesses that you're a part of. Okay, I'm just going to start with you, Divya. You mentioned you're a mother, and I'm sure Twice Treasured resounded with you a lot as you were overseeing and developing the concept. And I suppose it's now something that mothers everywhere can relate to. Tell us of a happy customer experience in the last few months that has been a celebration moment for Twice Treasured.
So, since we started, the response has definitely been overwhelming. We started with within Chennai deliveries, now shipping pan India. It's truly been a gratifying experience so far. There are two instances that vividly stand out to me when I think about a happy customer. The first one was actually this was to a mother who had just given birth to her child and who had aspired to feed the child. She was from a rural part of India and did not have much access. And for whatever reason, she couldn't feed the baby, and she needed to get there's something called as a breast pump that you would use if you're not able to feed the baby directly. So she got in touch with us for two reasons. One, she was not able to afford a breast pump at full price. And two, she needed it on immediate basis because this mother had aspirations to feed the baby. And being mothers ourselves, we knew the pain that one would undergo, and every hour is critical if you're not able to feed your own child. So she wanted a next day delivery, but we did all we could and we delivered it to her on the same day. And that really made a difference to her as well as to how we felt about our business. So it kept us up and running even faster since that day. The second instance was actually for a mother who had an unwell child, some acidic reflux oriented, disorder and all those things. And she needed specific products that were not available in India at all. Now, in a non-COVID period, she would have found it much easier to have a relative send it over or to have someone send it for her, but she couldn't do this. And she needed these products on an immediate basis. So she reached out to us, then we put it out on our platform. We found another mother in North who was able to ship it immediately to the South. And she got her product on immediate basis and, what she wanted was achieved. So I think these small instances really go a long way for small businesses because it tells you why you're doing what you're doing and it pushes you to do better. So these were two instances that was definitely a celebration worthy moment for Twice Treasured.
Divya, like when you mentioned that point, that mothers are themselves sellers, I think that's like the biggest thing for Twice Treasured because definitely um, they'd want something good to happen to another child. Like if they were in that position, they're thinking like that. I think your whole concept is being driven by that one. What do you say? That foundation, that emotion. So yeah, and what
Absolutely.
when you said that first case, like when you said rural, how far was it from like a city point?
It was far south, near Kanyakumari. So,
Okay.
and she didn't have access to too many resources. And I think that's where we make a difference because our whole motive is to provide branded, excellent products at 50 or 60% of the original price by virtue of it being sparingly used by somebody else. So that really helps a lot of people in different pockets of the country who are not able to have access to it for whatever reason.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned at some point when we've spoken that, people buy children's products just thinking that they may need it, but they may end up not even using it or spending too much money on it, then having no idea of what to use it for. So I guess you're really bridging that gap through Twice Treasured. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Srinath, I want to ask you. So you're a traveler yourself, and the memories that traveling creates are something that people will cherish for their lifelong. Any story from a customer of Pick Your Trail that was really motivational, really inspirational that you would like to share with our viewers? Maybe it's something that you talk about in your own office or among your colleagues. Would you like to tell us about that, please?
So, pre-COVID, we had a lot of stories to tell for sure. So, pre-COVID, we had a retired couple, like 70 plus, and their bucket list was that, hey, we couldn't travel when we were actually working, taking care of kids, college, and all of that. Now we want to travel around the world. And they had done a 70 night itinerary, 70, and they wanted to cover Southeast Asia, Australia, New Zealand, America, South America, do skydiving. So it was like their entire life's ambition to travel. They wanted to, cover that in one itinerary. And 70 days was a huge challenge for us also to try and understand and plan such a big itinerary. But we enjoyed doing that entirely because, a lot of travel obviously is like your yearly, that get away from your mundane work life and all of that. For them it was much much bigger in terms of their life purpose. So that was interesting and we enjoyed doing it. Also we had a lot of the internal fears saying how will we manage 70 days of experience that would span across so many flights, so many hotels, activities and all of that. One thing going wrong can have a lingering effect for the remaining parts of the vacation. It was a challenge, but it was, as I said, we continue to tell to our team saying that we don't have any right to screw up anybody's vacation. And that underlying theme, eventually they had a great time, and they've been a great brand ambassadors for us, referring more people. And they continue to talk about it, and they message us occasionally as well, saying that they message me occasionally saying that we had a great time. It's been 1 year since that anniversary. They share photos, so that's a great thing that we always go back and reflect, because travel is different things for different people, and we continue to discover that where through pick your trail, like be it a honeymoon, be it an anniversary or somebody's birthday or somebody's retirement. There's always a purpose to travel, and we are discovering that every time that we cater to a customer. There are very interesting stories like that come across. Post COVID, obviously, two types of things have happened. One obviously is people who had postponed their honeymoon. Eventually, they at some point of they were like, hey, we've been in a lockdown, we want to take a break, and we've not been able to do that. Honeymoon is supposed to be special. So a lot of people have had their honeymoons post lockdown, and they've had a great experience. They've been sharing great reviews with us. And one other thing was, this was also significant for us, is that because of the fact that this post lockdown, this was our first bounce back to revenue. And we were the travel partner for CSK, given that we are from Chennai. And at the end of the entire season, Dhoni giving a shout out to Pick Your Trail, that it was all done well in Instagram, that made our day really really special. These are the moments that the entire hard work of the team, they feel that yes, it's justified. We've done a great job, and this kind of small validations is what they kind of enjoy also. So I think these were two things that I can very vividly remember as post lockdown kind of highs that we have had from customer happiness, or having served them satisfactorily.
So, one second, just going back to that elderly couple, when was their travel?
This was pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I vividly remember that because that was a very special purpose that they were traveling for. So,
Yeah.
and I had not come across somebody who would want to plan such elaborate travel, especially after retirement. This was the first for us. We've also had in the past one single lady. After she had gone through a lot. She's also in her 70s, and she was single at that point of time. I mean, she was a widow, but she said that should not stop me from traveling. And she traveled to Europe with us for about 35 days, and she did solo backpacking. And we were
Wow.
like taken aback, saying that, okay, that's a lot of, adventure that's within her, and she's open to doing that. So we've had very interesting stories like that also.
Yeah, yeah. And you're right. Like, it's knowing that these little acts of gratitude, they're what will propel your team to, go look into that extra detail to make sure that
Yeah,
the
and these customers, I don't know, they somehow build this relationship with our team. They send handwritten notes, they send cakes from back from vacation, they send handwritten notes. We have a display in our office where all these handwritten notes from customers are displayed on the board.
Oh, okay, that's nice. Okay, that's great listening to your stories of both Twice Treasured and Pick Your Trail. We're just going to move on to our next segment. That's Gyan Time.
Sure.
So this is advice for all the entrepreneurs and aspirational entrepreneurs out there, what they want to hear from you. Now, online customer experiences and especially the feedback mechanism give any business a goal, a push, a drive to do the things that they are doing, as you both have mentioned, Divya and Srinath. So, with businesses going online, the feedback is instant. And sometimes it's a pat on the back for good work, sometimes it can be an eye opener. Um, but experience makes us wiser and also enables us to change our strategy. Now, just keeping in line with this whole online experience, Divya, I'm just going to ask you something like what you would leave as like pearls of wisdom for our viewers. So, for someone who's starting afresh, could you give us some simple takeaways to create a great customer experience strategy that you have learned while being in business?
So I think the first and foremost for anyone who's looking to start a business is I would say don't wait for your plan to be perfect. In fact, I've been on the receiving end of this where I've had multiple ideas before, twice assured, and I wouldn't start up because I'd wait for it to have the perfect formula. By then, somebody would have already done it and done it much better than I could have foreseen it. So, like I said, when we started twice assured, we came up with a name, which is what took a week for us, and we just started. And we've had a very very dynamic model, changing every day in and day out based on the experiences we have and the feedback that we get.
Yeah.
And there is a very common misconception that you need a lot of funds to start a business or you need to have enough capital and enough security, which is definitely not the case. I think all you need is a solid idea and belief and in what you want to do, and everything else will automatically find a place into your business. But when you do that and when you start over, you have to be legally compliant. I cannot insist more on this because you assume you're a small business and you start, but in no time you can definitely blow up, and the process might be so gradual that you might not keep track of it. And at a later date, to fix these legal issues or compliances might be much more difficult. And we notice this in a lot of our clients that come in and go out. So definitely be mindful of it. For all you know, your entire business model might change based on how compliant you need to be, and you have to be flexible and dynamic. I think it's a very fast going world, so that's always a point that you need to keep in mind. The last one that I would say is definitely trust your instincts. You cannot go wrong with your gut, and even if you do, I think the learning curve is something that you will grow from and definitely do better. And on the customer front, the one thing that we've learned is, especially being on Instagram, it's all being fast at a click of a button. I think we learn to keep it very simple, where there's minimal back and forth interaction. It's very simple. You buy a product, you get it delivered, you're happy or not happy, and you're done. And that also helped us with them spreading about us through word of mouth, gave us the organic growth that we aspire to have, and also built in some brand loyalty. The last one with which I would say is focus on repeat customers as much as you would focus on expansion. I think a lot of times small businesses we aspire to grow and we lose track of what we have on hand. So that's something constantly at Vice Treasure. We try to engage our existing customer base. We don't look at them as just one sale and we're done. We try to, get in touch with them frequently, send them updates, have programs that would interest them, to just keep that communication and also build a community in through that process. So that would be my takeaway for small businesses.
Yeah, Divya, like your professional background and your business touch, like that's a deadly combination. So I could see the advice is coming from that angle as well. I just want to send a reminder to like our viewers, so we can take up questions from the audience. So for those who are watching, if you have any questions relating to setting up an online business, uh, do leave it in the comment box in any of our streams on the Restart India Inc. or Muthoot channels, and we'll request our panelists to address those questions for you. Srinath, so what are the variables one should keep in mind while creating a good online customer experience strategy?
A good online customer experience is all about communication. How well you're able to communicate, how proactively are you able to communicate, and how efficiently are you able to deliver the value of your product. So it can be and communication is in multiple facets. One is product copy. If you are a digital business, what is it? Because your real estate space on your screen is limited. On mobile, if you take it, it's 4.5 inch. That's the kind of space that you have. In that, how much are you able to communicate and explain about your product is going to be very, very important. So the UI and the product copy that you write is going to be very, very critical in terms of communication, number one. Number two is the sales communication. Like how your sales team communicates with the customer, how proactive they are, how much of information they are able to give them to actually take that decision. More often than not, a digital transaction, people hesitate from doing it because they don't have either enough context or they don't know if it's the right purchase. If you're able to solve for these through communication, more often than not, more and more people will do digital transactions. And that is one of the essence. As part of your digital customer experience, you have to keep at the top of your priority list. Are you able to I'm not talking about very fancy UI or any of those things, like you need to spend tons and tons of money in terms of design, in terms of UI expert or any of those things, but very functional UI which is able to tell a simpleton like this is what you're selling. If you're able to communicate that effectively, that is going to be a very important value that you create in your entire digital customer experience touch point. That's one. And number two is the way that you acquire customers and how well you treat them digitally also is going to define how much of brand recall they have. Are you consistent in your approach, in your treatment to them, will define their entire digital experience with you. How enriching can that be will define how much of that they remember, how much of the brand they remember. It can be very small things that could be there. I'm not talking about very fancy stuff again. Very small stuff. How many times are you able to wish them digitally for their birthdays? Are you able to call out their anniversaries and talk about it, or give very small, not just saying that, hey customer, you're important to us. That's going to also define how much of the brand they recollect, and that the digital experience is also going to be very important.
Wait, when you say like call out their anniversary, how are you doing this?
Some parts of it as part of the communication. When I'm not definitely by any means propagating that you go and scrap information, but it's organically obtained information where you have organically got to know. They would have said, this is my passport details, this has my birthday details, a date of birth, all of that will be there. And if they are planning for a honeymoon, then you would know that it's their wedding, or at least the month is that wedding. You can always communicate around that. So obviously you have to keep in mind the information that you organically obtain from the customers. You should always action on it. Anything else is only going to creep the customer, and that will create a bad experience. So you should definitely not do that at all. Organically acquired customer information is something that you should be proactively acting on to create the delight touch points.
Yeah, I remember, I think a year after my wedding, I got a message from the place where the wedding happened saying that, do you want to visit for a staycation, like, for your anniversary. So, I mean, it's not like we gave that information. They knew the wedding took place over there. So I get what you mean about organically obtained information. So that didn't creep me out. That I thought was a very nice gesture. Yeah. Okay, so we'll just move on to the next segment, which is Let's Watch This One. So I'm just going to explain what this is. In the initial days of the lockdown, we at Muthoot started reaching out to small businesses because we realized many small businesses out there, kiranas, women entrepreneurs who did very novel things. And while certain small businesses were going through a difficult time, we felt that it was important that they hear from peers on what new things they're implementing, how they're doing certain things to tide over these challenging times. And it's important that they hear it from someone like them rather than from, say, people like us, because credibility. So this is a story about a lady named Ruvisha. She's from Kerala, and she talks about how she moved on to doing her business on WhatsApp. I think we'll just listen to what she says, and then I'll explain more about the video. Can we see Ruvisha's video, please?
എൻ്റെ പേര് റുബീഷ. ഞാൻ പുന്നപ്രയിലാണ് താമസിക്കുന്നത്. 2 വർഷത്തോളമായി ഞാൻ കേക്കിൻ്റെ ബിസിനസ് ചെയ്യുന്നു. ലോക്ക്ഡൗൺ, കൊറോണ അങ്ങനെയുള്ള വിഷയങ്ങളിൽ ഒരുപാട് സാമ്പത്തിക പ്രശ്നങ്ങൾ ഞങ്ങൾക്കുണ്ടായി. പിന്നെ കേക്കിന് ഈ ബിസിനസ്സിൽ തന്നെ ഓർഡേഴ്സ് കിട്ടാനുള്ള ബുദ്ധിമുട്ട്. കാര്യം ഇപ്പോൾ ലോക്ക്ഡൗൺ ആയതുകൊണ്ട് ആർക്കും വന്ന് ഓർഡർ തരാനുള്ള ഇതില്ല. അങ്ങനെ ഞങ്ങൾ ആലോചിച്ച് വാട്സപ്പ് ഗ്രൂപ്പ് തുടങ്ങി. ഗ്രൂപ്പിൽ ഫ്രണ്ട്സ്, റിലേറ്റീവ്സ് എല്ലാവരെയും ഇൻക്ലൂഡ് ചെയ്ത് സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്തപ്പോഴത്തേനും 100-200 പേര് നമ്മുടെ ഗ്രൂപ്പിൽ ആഡായി. അങ്ങനെ ഓർഡേഴ്സൊക്കെ നല്ല രീതിയിൽ വരാൻ തുടങ്ങി. കേക്കിൻ്റെ റേറ്റും ഫ്ലേവേഴ്സും അതെല്ലാം ആയിട്ട് മെനു കാർഡ് അറേഞ്ച് ചെയ്തു. ഹോം ഡെലിവറി അലവ് ആണെന്ന് ഉള്ളത് നമ്മൾ ആഡ് കൊടുത്തിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ഇപ്പം നല്ല ഓർഡറൊക്കെ ആയിട്ട് മുമ്പോട്ട് പോകുന്നു.
So we had a chance to speak to this lady. I think I was amazed just speaking to her. She said before the lockdown, she used to do about 6 orders a day. So she used to place her products in local bakeries. Now, since she set up her business on WhatsApp, and in the video she says that she set up a WhatsApp group and she started adding friends and relatives to the group, and the group started growing organically. Um, Now she's come to a stage where she has to reject orders. She's that busy. So, and her sales have gone up to about 30,000 a month. For a small business, that's like huge. And she talks about how she set up, how she created a menu card, she created a logo. So, I mean, this is extremely creative for a small business, and we can't assume that, WhatsApp is a difficult tool. I think something that Ruvisha teaches us is that, I'm resounding what you said, Srinath, that it doesn't have to be a complicated digital tool. When we're talking about digitization, like, you set up something simple, but you use it effectively. I think that's been like a takeaway from Ruvisha's story for us. I'm just gonna open it out to both Divya and Srinath. Just do let us know what you think about a person like Ruvisha, and maybe Srinath, you can add something like, what are the main drivers of satisfaction when customers plan an online purchase as well?
So, as we were discussing earlier, direct to customer right now is the in thing, and it's the vogue. And the best part about it is that direct to customers, you don't have to think again for that entirely digital. Your first set of circle is always going to be your first set of customers more often than not. And you will be surprised, even for an introvert, that circle will be quite big, because your family, friends, and subsequently that circle expands into at least your first 500 customers. That's how it was for Pick Your Trade, to be very honest. And I take a lot of positivity from the video. Say the very fact that she has taken a very simple tool like WhatsApp and use that as a distribution channel, primary distribution channel. Technology, as I say, is not very complex stuff. Technology is, at the end of the day, a means to what you want to do with your business. It is not the business by itself. So she's used that effectively, and I think the network effects, she would have seen the benefits of it, and that would have given her a lot of confidence to actually pursue this even more seriously. She talks about building a menu card, building visiting card, and all of that. I think the very fact that you start seeing small successes, you automatically tune yourself to become a professional, and that's going to be the small milestones will help you think professionally also. And I think that has happened in our case, and which is sometimes that is where people kind of miss. They see small successes but they don't know what to do next. If she's able to channelize that and think how to build a structured business around it, that is very interesting and takeaway for me, for sure. And using simple tools to get there. Starting a business is the biggest decision, to be very honest. After that, these are all incremental steps you take to build a business, and not one bright idea that one fine day changes everything.
Yeah.
It's going to be like small things adding up over a period of time to become a very big aspect. And I think she's in the right direction that way. And I believe that whatever she's doing right now, she is going to probably, with the right intent, in about 2 or 3 years down the line, think of this as one of the small stepping stone in a much larger journey that she's pursuing.
Yeah. I think her story is amazing. Divya, like Ravisha mentioned something like she went from 0 to 200 customers just on her WhatsApp. So I'm just asking, you said you do your business on Instagram. How did you manage to gain so much traction in such a short period on social media?
So primarily, I think this was a space that everybody needed and used, but did not know existed, because it was mostly informal. It was through word of mouth earlier. You had to know somebody to get onto a group. So by virtue of us creating an open platform, it sort of came into picture that we identified the need and we satisfied the want. So by that, I think when we started itself, it was a really huge impetus for us to have a lot of parents immediately subscribing to it. But the challenge that we do face is how do we make ourselves known to many more people, right? Because we've still reached only about 29,000 parents. There are millions of them who probably make use of what we do. And as cliche as this sounds, I think you have to listen to your customers. Now, in my case, both the buyer and the sellers are my customers. So I take a lot of time over the period of 6 months to talk to them to understand where we could have done better or where they felt was a pain point. And if it was something where we did go wrong, we were immediate to change the process and also to inform everybody else that we've changed the process. It was something where we felt we needn't change. We took the time out to explain to them why we did what we did. And that learning curve and that experience by itself was huge for us in terms of how we learned to do business. Instead of being fixated on one model and sticking to it, we were very flexible about how we did that. And the second thing about doing business on social media is it's all about turnaround. I think Srinath also mentioned this. You have to be quick with your response and action, because since it's online and people do not see it physically, there's a lot of trust factor that goes into building a brand and having transparency through that process. So we ensure that we don't leave anything hanging for more than 20 minutes. If we get a DM, any of us would just respond to it within 20 minutes, and we've been doing that for the last 7 months now. And we feel that automatically builds some veracity to our brand and trust in what we do. Buyers feel that they can trust us and go ahead and buy a product. And this has also ensured that we have repeating customers, keep the same buyers buying multiple products and just staying on with us in the belief that we do it right. The last aspect of how we gain traction definitely is through collaboration with other brands which align with our values in the similar industry, which also has access to parents. I think when you're small and if you try to do everything on your own, somewhere it's going to be very difficult for you to grow. We acknowledge that from the start, we got in touch with other smaller brands who also aspire to grow, who are also in our industry. And we used to do a lot of, something like a giveaway with them, or we used to send in hampers with them, just engage together in some form to make an impact or make a difference in people. So that really helped, especially when you're on Instagram. I think there's a lot of transparency in everybody's lives that you understand from. So by making use of that and talking to them and collaborating together, it really goes a long way for small businesses to gain the traction there. So these were some points that really helped us at Vice to grow and get the due traction that we need to get.
I think that's a good point on collaboration, Divya, because as much as you believe that your growth should be organic, there are certain steps, wise steps that you need to take here. So to bring that visibility, and a business shouldn't be scared, like take that step, whatever form of like advertising or partnership that you're setting up, because otherwise, how will people come to know about you? So yeah, I think that's a good point. To our viewers, we just want to say if you have helped a small nano business in your locality to restart, do record a short video of the shop and post it on social media and tag us using these hashtags: hashtag restart India, hashtag small business, hashtag support local, hashtag local business support. And we will feature the best small business restart stories in our future live events. So we have one last segment. I think we're coming to the close of today's show, but we've got a few questions from the audience. So maybe we can take just 2 questions. I think that's about as much time as we have. Divya, I want to ask this question to you because you mentioned this particular point. Does the majority of your revenue come from new customers or loyal customers? And I specifically want to ask this question because generally, repeat customers means repeat mothers, it means repeat kids. So I'm just wondering like how you would fit that into your whole twice treasured concept.
So, there's no one fit solution to this. It's changing on a day-on-day basis. But if I go back and see the last 6 months, I think it's been a mix of both, with probably 60% of repeating customers and 40% from new people. Purely because for you to acquire a new customer, it does take some time. You need them to come onto your page, you need them to understand what you're doing and also go through the process. So for us, customer acquisition has always been a slow progression, right? Like it's taken its due course. And like I said, we try and give voice to our brand, where we don't just push a sale. A lot of customers might not even bought from us, but we engage in a lot of conversation with them, because us being mothers ourselves, they have a lot of questions for their child. What do we get, which brand is good? So we're not here to push sales. I think we're here for the larger purpose of creating a community. So we strictly don't look at new customers as sales acquisition, but we're also mindful of what goes into it and the time that we spend on it. So my answer would be probably a 60-40 ratio, 60 being repeating and 40 being new customers.
Okay. Srinath, one question to you. This has come from Kanchan Raj. What are the organic modes of promotions that you use to save on costs and improve customer engagement for a travel and hospitality business?
For a very new business, to be very honest, there is no right answer that this is the holy grail. For a new business, it is all about hustle. You have to be just creative and shameless about plugging in your brand wherever possible. So in our case, it was like when we started, all our batchmates were getting married. And we would just be shameless and go and ask them, hey, what are you doing for your honeymoon? Engagement invite comes, the first question we ask is, where are you planning honeymoon? I'll help you do that. So for a very new business, it's very unstructured, to be very honest. It is purely about hustle, how creative you can get to, tap into your first set of customers in your own network. And your own network, there's nothing that can be structured, because you can be as shameless as possible, you can be as persuasive as possible, and you can be as repetitive as possible with them. They're going to pardon all your mistakes. So that's why I say that hustle is the first. I will put it under that brand. That's how you will organically get your first set of customers within your own set of network, and you should be shameless about it. What they may think about it, you do not worry about it, as long as you are honestly communicating about your brand. I'm not saying do false promise or any of these things. Honestly communicate about your brand, even if to the point of it being repetitive, but just hustle within your own network to start with. As you continue to grow, obviously organic promotion is you have your own set of customers, and that will continue to grow over a period of time. How much you are in touch with them and how honestly you appreciate them will define organically you getting that business again and again. And every phase of digital itself, there are different channels at different evolution levels. Like if you take Facebook in 2012, organic was so easy to go and promote over there. Instagram probably 3 years back, organic was very easy. You can reach out to more of your own audience and build an audience base. Probably right now YouTube is at that phase wherein you can organically acquire customers at a much cheaper cost. So you have to be curious enough to understand digitally which is the next upcoming thing and what is the next wave. Probably a lot of people were in TikTok, and TikTok was not very promotional at that point of time. You were organically able to reach more and more content, more and more people, because the content itself was the king over there, and a good organic content reached to a lot more people. So you have to be lucky to be at the right place at the right time, especially with respect to the digital platforms that you choose. Otherwise, it very quickly goes into that paid versus organic way to grow within digital channels. So, these are two things that from our own learning perspective, we were able to reflect. One is initial phases, hustle really hard. Second, value your customers because they will eventually be the biggest organic source for you. And the third is be curious about new digital channels and platforms. And if you're an early adopter, you will get the benefits of that organic reach, because the platform's objective is also to reach to more and more people and distribute good content. So organic good content will be appreciated over there, and at some point of time they'll start monetizing, and that's when paid takes over organic. So these are three things that I can think of.
Yeah, Srinath, that's a great answer. And really, like for a small business, you're just making your own mistakes at that point in time. So yeah, of course, I think the one takeaway that you said was like be shameless at that point in time. You're just testing the market, you're trying out with your friends and relatives. So that's where you're like refining and building your model. So yeah, just go out all out there. I think we've come to the end of the show. It's 7 o'clock, so I just want to thank you both, Divya and Srinath, for the meaningful conversation and the great insights that you've given. And to
Thank
all
you.
our viewers, thank you so much. To all our viewers, please continue to visit us on our website, www.restartindia.in, and our social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, for exciting updates and resources that can help you with your small business. We will continue with these live events once a month with our mentors and other small businesses. And this is your initiative, and we are here to journey with you. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Tina.
Thank you so much for having us.